power. He'll put a military chief in charge of a joint agency task force to deal with the issue. The plan has been unveiled almost a week after the Australian government toughened its policy on asylum seekers. The ruling Labor Party announced that those trying to arrive by boat will be sent to neighboring Papua New Guinea. More than 15,000 asylum seekers have made the perilous journey to Australia so far this year. Our correspondent Daniel Pizarro joins us now from Sydney. Daniel, tell us about this measure, and is it likely to get the opposition more votes, or will it backfire?
Hi, Bardia. Yes, Tony Abbott today announced Operation Sovereign Borders. This is supposed to be at least a $10 million new plan, although we don't know how much it will cost in the long term, which will see a 3-star military general appointed to the head of this task force, which is supposed to bring in 12 government agencies to oversee Australia's borders. Now, the big thing about this is that this general, who will be appointed on the recommendation of the Australian Defence Force Chief, General David Hurley. However, this general will report to the Immigration Minister. So this is a very unusual chain of command. Now, apart from the fact that temporary protection visas will be reintroduced, which means that any asylum seeker who comes to Australia who's found to be a genuine refugee, if they are granted a temporary protection visa, they will stay in Australia as long as it's safe to do so. Then once their country of origin is declared safe, they will have to go back, unless, of course, they try and get permanent residency. But, of course, the big controversy of this plan that Tony Abbott has been saying a long time is that he will, quote, turn the boats when it is safe to do so. And this has gotten a lot of people, including the Australian government, the Australian Greens, refugee advocates, very concerned, because they say that even more lives could be put at risk if something was ever to happen. If a refugee boat was asked to turn around by the Australian military, the refugees could get desperate, the people smugglers could get desperate, we could see hundreds more lives being affected, and of course there's also the risk to the Australian military. Now, reaction to this plan has been mixed in many ways. This is seen as Tony Abbott's big response in the wake of Kevin Rudd's announcement last week that any refugee who comes to Australia via boat, they will be resettled in Papua New Guinea with no chance to come to Australia at all, even if they are genuine refugees. Tony Abbott has really gotten himself on the back foot with this kind of issue, and with the polls really narrowing down, we really are seeing a lot of electioneering. Now, we don't know how effective this policy will be if Tony Abbott does get elected. He says he will implement this within the first 100 days of office. But we're also going to see whether or not Kevin Rudd's new strategy which will be implemented now, how effective that should be. I should also point out that actually earlier this morning, in a very rare comment, General David Hurley, the chief of the ADF, actually spoke on this policy of Tony Abbott, saying that he had no involvement in shaping Operation Sovereign Borders at all. He says that he will implement the policies of whatever government he serves under, but he has stressed that he has had no involvement. And there are people in the Australian Defence Force that are really mixed about this new policy, saying that this could impact on the lives of the defence associations, the people involved, but also that it blurs the lines between the military and police work. And this is something that a lot of defence personnel are uncomfortable with. Right. Now, of course, you do have the question of whether or not there will be an election soon. Kevin Rudd might announce it for August 31st, but it could be later.
Sure, we are going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much. That was our correspondent from Sydney, Daniel Pizarro. And a tragedy in Spain. At least 78 people were killed and 140 injured after a high-speed train went off the tracks near the northwestern city of Santiago de Compostela.